Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Up Sis Podcast. This is the place where everyday women and men have an opportunity to share their stories to inspire yours. We say what you think no one wants to hear, but everyone needs to know. I'm your host, Angel Charmaine, and tonight I've got another amazing guest for you all. And I'm not just saying that to say it. He is definitely an amazing person, and I believe by the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly why. So let me go ahead and introduce to all of you, Joe Stump. How you doing, Joe? And welcome to Up Sis Podcast.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is great. I just want to tell everybody just a little bit about me real quick. So, I'm 32 years old. I serve in the Colorado National Guard as a recruiter. I have been into fitness for the last 5-6 years. Just trying to build overall to be a healthier person. And then I also have been published in a magazine. I do a little bit of modeling, and I'm just trying to better my opportunities and see where God takes me.
That's what's up. So you are a model. Let me jump into that right quick. Okay, y'all see that smile? Well, those of you who are listening to the audio version of the podcast, how y'all doing? I know y'all can't see this handsome gentleman. However, that's how I actually connected with him. I saw him on another show, and he was talking about all the hard work that goes in to being this fitness person and a model and all that good stuff. And he's known on Instagram as Fit Joe Co. And he's pretty amazing. So yeah, y'all make sure y'all check him out. But we're not going to talk about modeling tonight, right? We're not going to talk about that. We want to really dig into what life was like prior to becoming the service member, right? The military service member, and prior to becoming this awesome internationally published author and all these great things. Your life started out a bit rocky. So if you will, please share with the people the beginning.
So about 3 years old, I never met my real father at all. I've only spoke to him over the phone a couple years before he passed away. But it all started with my mom and my stepfather at the time. And my stepfather is the one where the sexual abuse actually started. I was about 3 years old when he sexually abused me and was physically abusing me. Like one of the stories I can tell you is there was a time where I actually peed my underwear, and he got so mad that he threw the underwear. He threw the underwear in my mouth and threw me into a barn, and I stayed in that barn for hours at a time. He would act like he was a bear and slam on the barn doors all the time, thinking that a bear was going to come and get me all the time. And every time I still would pee my pants, and I got scared. So at one point he got so mad that he picked me up and It's
okay.
He picked me up and slammed me on the ground, and that's when the physical abuse actually started. But it was constantly all that time. My mother would tell me to, she would hide another pair of underwear in the garage because she was afraid of him too. Right. And she would hide another pair of underwear and would tell me to, if I peed my pants or my underwear, that to go over there and grab it and hurry up and change before he would come back.
Right.
And that was just the beginning. I mean, made my sister and I both suck on his penis at the time. Wow. At 3 to 4 years old. He would sexually molest us all the time, and it was just nonstop. Where I would have to stand up all night long in a corner, and I wake up in the morning and I'm on the ground because I fell asleep. I don't know how I fell to the ground because I must have been tired, but I wake up and then all of a sudden I woke up with my face, with his foot smashing my head into the ground. And it was just a nonstop thing that constantly happened no matter what. I would have to go outside, run around in the winter. And this, this is back in Michigan where winters were brutal back then. And I had no shoes, just underwear on. And I had to run around the house several times before I was allowed to come back in, causing, being cold, and I had to wait until he was drunk and everything to be in the house, or there would have been problems. Right. And that was just, because of that, we got taken away because it was reported by a family member out in Florida who I used to live with, but they were no different than anybody else.
Right.
And then, I went into the foster care system, only one foster care home.
Right.
And it was a white woman who was overweight and a black man who was overweight too.
So before we get into your foster care experience, let me sort of breathe. Let me breathe, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to breathe as well, because this is a very serious share that you're doing right now. And I want you to take your time. Okay. So you were like 3 years old, you told me. You're with mom. Yes. You got a stepfather who is abusing mom. He's abusing you as well as your sister. And it's sexual abuse, it's physical abuse. And so now a family member decides they're going to call child welfare service, and they remove you and your sister out of the home from mom and this man, correct?
Yes.
All right. So now how old were you when you went into the foster system at that time?
Well, so before, because the abuse was nonstop, and the sexual abuse was nonstop at the house, and we lived in different places all the time, and it just constantly happened at such a young age.
Right.
I actually went to go live with my aunt and uncle out in Florida, my mom's sister, and so we lived. I can't remember how long I lived out there. But all I can remember is me and my sister was stuck living in a bedroom the whole entire time we were there. We weren't allowed to play. We weren't allowed to go outside. We eat what they gave us. And then we went back to my mom's house. And at that time, my stepfather, he already killed himself in prison, in jail. Because he knew he was going to be sentenced. He was being charged. He didn't actually get charged for any of the sexual stuff. He was charged for other things, and I'm not sure what they actually were at that time. But he actually killed himself, and then by the time I came back, my mom was already with a new man.
Gotcha.
At the time. So, and then when I got back, it was probably about 3 or 4 days later that we were taken. And I want to say I was about 6 years old at the time.
Okay.
Is when I got actually put into the foster care system.
Okay.
And that was, I can remember.
About 6 years old. So before we continue with this, I want to say for those of you who may be watching, feel free to put your comments. If you have questions, you can place them in the chat as well. You know, I will address them as I see them. But tonight, this is one-on-one with Angel, and I am talking to Joe Stump about his experience as a man who was sexually abused as a child. And the reason I wanted to talk to Joe about this is because, one, oftentimes when we think about children being sexually abused, we think of girls. We think of little girls being abused by men. Um, you know, or sometimes we think maybe little boys being abused by women. But the truth is that there are many men who are walking around every single day with the trauma of childhood sexual abuse that no one knows about and that they are afraid to discuss because of the stigma behind boys being sexually molested and abused as children. And to couple this, not only did this take place in his home, but also in the foster system. And that's another topic that we definitely need to dig into at some point, the foster care system and what happens to children who are supposed to be being protected. And yet they're having the same type of abuse that they had when they, weren't in the system. So I wanted to make sure that Joe had a safe space in order to share. All right. So let's go into the foster care system and trust, I'm holding back some tears too, Joe. You're not the only one. I'm sitting here like this is, I may put a trigger warning on the top of this one. But you have the floor. So you go into the foster system and you've got this white woman and you got a black man, a biracial foster home. And were there other children in the home?
So before I went into them, I probably went into like, I want to say 8 different foster care homes in less than a year.
Oh, wow.
Nobody wanted me. And then I went into that family's house, and yes, there were other children there. Some of them were already adopted and some of them were foster care kids, but I was probably one of their first actual foster kids. The other ones I believe were already adopted by the time I got there. Actually, me and my sister both were at that foster care home for several, I want to say a year maybe, and then or less than a year for her, and then she went somewhere else, but I stayed in that home. At first, everything sounded good at first with that family, mm-hmm. But then it came to the actual abuse. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what I did or what I said. I got beat with everything. Pots, pans, brooms, splice waters, everyone knows about the wooden spoons and the wooden forks that were always hanging on the wall. Mm-hmm. I had those. I've had a hammer thrown at me. I've had hot water thrown out at me. Whatever. They would have their own kids that they adopted to beat me. It was just a nonstop thing with them. But the woman, she was the one that was the worst. Mm-hmm. Whatever she would get with and she would beat me with, that's what she would beat me with. So fly swatters were the number one things. And if everybody doesn't know, a plastic fly swatter does not feel good when it leaves that red welt mark on you. Right. But Destiny takes care of everything, it seems. Because that's exactly what they would use to hide the bruises, to hide the marks, was Destiny. The foster dad, and I'm just bringing it up just a little bit, but I'll go into detail about some of the stories. Mm-hmm. The foster dad, he would wake me up in the middle of the night while everybody was sleeping, and he would watch porn. And he would bring me into his lap, and I was, butt bare naked, right, sitting on his lap. He would fondle me, He would make me have to fondle him. He would make me have to suck him, whatever it was do. And if I didn't do it, he would literally choke me.
Wow.
And that was a lot that happened with him. But I was afraid of this family. I was afraid to speak up because anytime they would beat me, or if I tried to they told me that they would kill me and they would bury me in their backyard and nobody would ever find me.
That's one thing I was going to ask. Like, don't you have a caseworker or someone who's responsible for checking on you and making sure that you're okay? So did this person show up, come around? Did they not notice anything different about you or anything?
So she knew. She knew what was going on. She chose to not do anything.
Gotcha.
At one point, which it was a little bit later on, I was going to say, but I told her once.
Mm-hmm.
I was called a liar. I was called that I'm lying and that's not what's happening, yada, yada, yada. And she told the family that I told.
Oh.
And well, I can tell you that day was not a good day for me when I got back. I was also with this family starving. I mean, I didn't get to eat a lot. I got a half a bowl of cereal and it was Cheerios every single day. Cheerios, half a bowl with a little bit of milk.
Right.
Lunch would be a little sandwich. It would only be one sandwich, peanut butter with maybe butter on the other side of it,
mm-hmm.
maybe one hot dog or something like that.
Right.
Water. I had to drink water out of a faucet from outside. That's where I had to get my water from. I wasn't allowed to get anything else. No juice, no soda, nothing like that. I was not allowed to have those type of things. So I would steal.
Right.
That was my biggest thing. There were times, I got caught for stealing,
mm-hmm.
but I was hungry. I would always go in the fridge when they were not paying attention. I knew where all their snacks were. Mm-hmm. I knew where all it was. There was times I never got caught. I mean, I would stick bread in my pants. I would stick candy. I would stick ice cream, snacks, anything in my pants and hurry up and get outside before they would catch me.
Right.
And so there are times that I did get caught. Well, I felt the pain of that.
Right.
Getting beat with a broom for 10 minutes straight, fly swatter for 10 minutes straight, or make me go stand in the corner and every time they walk by, slam my head into the corner.
Wow.
Or if they wanted to, just because I looked at them or I asked a question, there we go, I'm getting beat. And a lot of people don't know is I didn't really have like Christmas or mm-hmm. birthdays or anything like that. I was not allowed to celebrate that stuff. I had to watch everybody else celebrate the holidays while I got nothing.
So were you the only foster child they abused, or were other children abused in the home as well?
There was one other kid that was in there that he did get adopted by them, even though he didn't want to get adopted. Right. And that was the one I was, he actually went to prison. He's out of prison now,
mm-hmm.
but yes, they abused the crap out of him and sexually abused him just as much as me. But we were the number 2 people of all the kids that got abused. Nobody else was really abused. But there was one little girl, and she was a little bit older, probably 4 or 5, and that man molested her.
Wow.
And same thing, there's a girl, 2 years old. Her name was Olivia, and I can still remember her name. She was autistic, red hair, 2 years old, a little overweight. And she would always reach for people's food, but she was hungry. She was autistic. She didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
The woman and the man would always smack her hand and beat her hands or smack her feet.
Right.
Because if she would stomp,
mm-hmm.
they would smack her feet with a fly swatter.
Right.
And being like, I couldn't do nothing because if I did something, I'm going to get it 10 times worse.
Right. And you're a child. You're
yes.
a child. You were a little older than Olivia, but you're a child as well. So that's a lot. And I'm sure that's not even scratching the surface, because we talked about some other things that, and we got 30 minutes. People, it is time for us to begin to stop pretending like these things aren't happening. It is so important that we begin to listen to the stories that people have to share. We need to begin to listen to not only women, not only, little girls, but there are boys out here who are suffering. There are little boys who are dealing with the same types of trauma that little girls are dealing with. We have got to stop this. This is a girl thing, and only girls can be sexually abused. Only girls can be raped. Only girls can know. Boys and men have very similar and sometimes worse things to happen to them, as well as children and as teens. But Joe, clearly you're here with me and we're talking, and you survived it. How? When did you have the opportunity to get out? And how did that happen?
Okay. So I was going to say just one more thing too. Like, even as a kid, a lot of people didn't know this either, but I was tied up with, when I go to bed, my hands and feet were tied like a pig every single night. I slept on the floor every single night. So imagine waking up and your hands are swollen and you think that your hands are about to fall off because they take stay ties and tie your hands together behind your hands and feet, and you can't move. And that's how you're sleeping for 9 hours, 10 hours of the whole entire night. And that was a constant thing. I mean, my hands hung from the ceiling at night so the man could molest me. But what got me into being able to is, I was asked if I wanted to be adopted by this family. And I said no. Now, even at school, like, I had teachers that wanted to adopt me because I never told them what happened, but they felt like something was happening. But I called them no. I told them I'll call them liars. I said I would tell them, people, that I didn't tell you guys that, you're lying. And a lot of those things like that. But I wasn't a chance where they asked if I wanted to be adopted from this family, and I said no, I don't want to be adopted. And I got into a family. A foster family, adopted family. It didn't work out. And then I went into another one, and it really worked out. But 2 months into there, I got in trouble. Because for someone that nobody loved me, and I didn't know how to love back. They loved me so much that they were giving me a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't know how to handle it.
Okay.
So I got in trouble. At school. I got kicked out of the school. I would put holes in this family's walls. I would break their stuff. I would break everything in the house. And then they were like, they couldn't do it no more. So they put me into a lockup facility. I stayed in that place for a little bit. Then I went back to that family. They allowed me to live with that adopted family one more time. And that didn't work out. So they removed me from that family. And then I went back to the family that abused me. They brought me back there, and they told me I was only going to be there for 2 weeks. It ended up me being there a lot longer. So I got to the point where I was like, it's either me defending myself or I'm going to keep on dealing with the pain. Okay. So at one point, the mother comes upstairs and she smashes my radio system that I got from the adopted family. So the next time she came upstairs, and I told her, if you ever put your hands on me again, I will kill both. I told them both, I will kill you both in your sleep. You'll never know. And they were scared, and she came upstairs one day, because she was like, "What did you tell me?" And I said, "You heard exactly what I said."
Mm-hmm.
She came upstairs. I pushed her down the steps.
Mm.
And that's what, and I ran away for the first time.
Right.
The police officer saw me. He asked me what happened. I says, "I'm just walking around. I'm taking a walk."
Mm-hmm.
He brings me back to the family. All of a sudden, they want to be nice to me.
Right.
Then the very next day, things change. I wake up, and I wake up to getting punched right in the face, and then he tied me up, and I stayed like that until the morning, and then while he untied me, every time he punched me, every time he was trying to take the stay ties and cut them, and he kept on punching me every single time. And from that, I ran away a second time. And this time, the officer said, "I'm taking you to jail." I said, "Yeah, you can take me. I don't want to come back here again."
Wow.
And I thought I was going to jail, but I didn't go to jail. I went back there, and then he said, "Is everything all set?" I said, "No, don't ever let me go back to their family. They're not good people." And they put me into a good foster home that I really, really liked. But again, I was only allowed to be there for 2 weeks, and then I got put back in placement. Then I was able to go back to that foster care family. But again, it just did not work out because they started doing nice things for me. They started loving me, but I didn't know how to love back.
Right.
I just didn't understand how to do that. So I got kicked out. Mm-hmm. And then from like 15 to 18, I got put in juvenile detention, and they asked me if I ever want to go back to foster care. And I said, no. Mm-hmm. I feel safer in the lockup facility.
Wow. So in essence, you ended up aging out of the system, and starting your life at that point. And listen, this has been so full. I probably should have done an hour-long segment with you, just because there's so much to unpack.
Yes, there is a lot more I wanted to say, but it's like.
But listen, this is what I'm gonna say. This is what I'm gonna say to you, because for those of you who are watching and listening, Joe is new at sharing his story. And remember at the beginning when I said he's an amazing person, I meant that because through all of the childhood sexual abuse, and you all have heard just a little bit of his story, he is a military service person, right? He is an internationally published author. He has made,
model.
What did I say?
Author,
because of published. But model, I'm an author, but you're a model. Okay. And he made it out. And so I'm honored that you said yes to coming here to share your story. But there's so much more, and we didn't even get an opportunity to really unpack it. So I'm going to extend an opportunity for us to do a part 2, and Absolutely. We can actually discuss what life was like aging out of the system, and you can sort of walk everybody through how you were able to keep your mind solid, keep your heart good, because we talked about the fact that you had to get to a place of forgiveness. So although we don't have the time to do it tonight, I invite you back if you would like to come
Absolutely.
back. Thank you, and share your part 2. And I'm just going to say it with everybody listening. If you need assistance, with sharing, with learning how to step into this place of advocating for yourself and advocating for others and all that good stuff, I am a resource, and I extend that to you. And we're going to have you back on Speak Up Sis Podcast so that you can share the remaining part of your story. But before I let you go, because we're at 8:30, and I know Gary is like, hurry it up. I would like for you, if you don't mind, really quickly to share a bit of hope for people who are listening, who may have gone through that type of trauma, who may be going through something of that nature. Can you share something with them that will give them some hope to hold on?
Yes. I just say life can be difficult, and sometimes you're given the wrong cards, but you have to become very strong, and you have to speak about what happened to you, because the only way that you're going to be able to move on is speak about it. And it takes a strong person to be able to speak about it and let the world know, because that's the way it's going to help. And one of the things I've always looked at is I didn't want to be a statistic. I chose not to be a statistic. I got the help that I needed, and I told myself I'm going to keep pushing through and do whatever I can to become a better person. And that's what I basically have done. And one of my things is I don't live in you cannot live in the past. Okay, the past is the past. We live to live our future. You can't allow the past to dictate your future, because if you do, then you won't be able to live your future out, and you won't be able to pursue what you want to pursue and what you were supposed to pursue in your life, because you don't know what it was. Maybe it is something that you should be doing. Because one of those things is, if you think about it and it's something that you want to do, you should be doing it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the words of wisdom. Thank you. And that smile. I bless God that you can still smile. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Joe. This has been something else. I'm just blessed and honored to be able to help you to get out there and share your story, because what we do know is that those of us who do trust God and we do believe that He is God, we know that all things work out for our good, even though they may not have been good. He just reroutes things so that they work out for our good. And it's good to see that you're doing beyond good. You're doing excellently right now. And with that, everyone, I'm going to say good night to you all. I thank you so much for joining us tonight for Speak Up Sis Podcast, one-on-one with Angel, with Joe Stump. Y'all listen, you've got to open your mouth and share your story. It is necessary. Your story may be the breakthrough in someone else's life. And with that, you all have a beautiful evening. And until next time, bye.